Good idea. Why don't you do it? Why don't you send her a message? I got it. All right, ready? We're ready. We're ready. We are. We are ready. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Our service today is a special service for a number of reasons. One is, the most important is because it's Shabbat. Two is because we are tomorrow, Shabbat, Shabbat begins, when we officially say it's Shabbat, we're at the 13th of the month of Shabbat, and on the 15th of the month of Shabbat, we have a very special birthday. It's the birthday for the trees. So we'll be celebrating a tree's birthday. You're only going to hear me mention that, I think, twice, and this was one. So we have a birthday for the trees. That's Monday, which begins Sunday night. And the other thing is that in the Torah portion that we read tomorrow, we are freed from Egypt, from slavery. We make it across the Sea of Reeds, and we sing. And we get to see the Song of the Sea in the Torah, and it's really cool. If you haven't seen it, and I've been showing it in the slides that we use when we do our online, when we do our Zoom services, it looks like waves. When you see poetry in the Torah, it looks different. Most of the time the columns look like what you see in the Torah over there, that they look like columns. Sometimes there's a little break where there's a paragraph break. But when you see a poem or a song, it's the same word in Hebrew, shir. It looks different, and there are a few different arrangements. But this one actually kind of makes you feel like water waves, so it's kind of lovely. But we sing the Song of the Sea, and because it's called Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of the song, for as long as I've been rabbi, we've had a musical Shabbat for the Song of the Shabbat, so for our service. So we're going to be singing our service. I'm going to refer you to pages in Mishkan Tefillah if you want to sing along. You know that in Jewish tradition, often the service in a traditional service, the whole thing would be sung. There'd be very little that isn't sung. So it's not hard to find melodies for all of the songs. Some of them we're going to use are traditional. Some of them are going to be new and fun, but a lot of it will be in Hebrew because there's words written for Hebrew. So the nice thing about Mishkan Tefillah is that every prayer has a transliteration in it in the version we have. If you haven't used this book before, I'm going to point out that every page has 2 page numbers on it. There's the blue one in the brackets and the black one. And since people are watching online and using different prayer books, they may have, if you have the fat book, the thicker book that has Shabbat and weekdays and holy days in it, then the only page number you don't have 2 page numbers, you only have 1, is the one that you're going to see in the square brackets. And if you have this book, you're going to see both, so I'm only going to call out the square bracket numbers. And then when we call those out, you can sing along with us or just listen, however you want to do this. We'll do some modern, some traditional, some fun, but we're going to start off with mostly fun, mostly getting you used to doing this. But we're going to just go from one song to another. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh yeah. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Are you gonna help me with this? You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. Nobody's clapping. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. When the Spirit says clap, you gotta clap, oh yeah. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. And if you weren't gonna clap very voluntarily, you may not like this one. You gotta drum when the Spirit says drum. You gotta drum when the Spirit says drum. When the Spirit says drum, you gotta drum, oh yeah. You gotta drum when the Spirit says drum. You gotta pray when the Spirit says pray. You gotta pray when the Spirit says pray. When the Spirit says pray, you gotta pray, oh yeah. You gotta pray when the Spirit says pray. We'll go back to the beginning. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh yeah, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. I couldn't find the words to this one in the prayer book. I don't know why. Bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum, cheery beery beery bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom. Bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum, cheery beery beery bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum. If you need the words to this next one, find the page number. That's page 120 in the brackets. Before we get over there, we're going to stand. We're going to take a deep breath. Let out slowly. Please rise. Take another deep breath. Page 120. Oh, there's a flame there, but it's a puny flame over there. One of the nice things, if you're following in the book, is if you don't have to look at the words, you could be distracted by some of the other things on the page. We're going to sing this. Rechi Shemoy, Rechi Shemoy, Rechi Shemoy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Okay, you could sing Shabbat Shalom to someone you came in with, someone you didn't come in with. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. We're going to turn to page 120. You may be seated. We're going to turn to page 128. You have to sing that. At the top. 128. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Page 138 has some of the words for this song, but some of the words for this song are in Yiddish. We'll sing in Lecha Doidi. When I sing Lecha Doidi, sollst du singen, y'all gotta sing Chiri Biri Bim. Is that gonna be way too low for us? Let's see if we can make that a little higher. Yeah, we could sing it, but not everybody can sing it. Ich will singen Likras Kala. When I say Likrat Kala, sollst du singen, y'all gotta sing Chiri Biri Bam. Lecha doidi, Chiri Biri Bim. Likras Kala, Chiri Biri Bam. Lecha doidi, Likras Kala, Chiri Biri 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 Bam, Chiri Bim. You have to say Chiri Bam if I say Chiri Bim. Let's try it again. If I say bim, you have to bam. If I say bam, you have to bim. Chiri bim, chiri bam, chiri bim bam bim bam bim bam. Chiri bam, chiri bim bam bim bam bim bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri bam bam. Will sing in Yerushalayim. When I say Jerusalem, sollst du singen, y'all gotta say Chiri Biri Bim. Ich will sing in Ir HaKodesh. It's the holy city. Sollst du singen, y'all gotta sing Chiri Biri Bam. Yerushalayim. Chiri Biri Bim. Is your mic on? Is his mic on? Yeah, keep it on.
Okay.
Thanks, helps. Yerushalayim.
Chiri Biri Bim.
Ir HaKodesh.
Chiri Biri Bum.
Yerushalayim. Ir HaKodesh. Chiri Biri 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 Bam. Chiri Bim.
Chiri Bum.
Chiri Bam.
Chiri Bim.
Chiri Bim Bam Bim Bam Bim Bam. Chiri Bam.
Chiri Bim.
Chiri Bim.
Chiri Bum.
Chiri Bim Bam Bim Bam Bim Bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri 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 bam bam. I chiri biri bam bam. Page 142.
I should have practiced that one.
I know.
Hey.
We do every year. Except
Once
the last
a year.
time was 3 years ago. I know.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Bolechem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue on page 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye b'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, u'v'zman kariv. V'miru, Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevarach, la'al u'almei almaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpahar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shemeh dekudesha b'richu, le'elamin kol berchata v'shirata.
תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, במרו
Page
אמן.
146. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
We will continue on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You may be seated. We continue on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue on page 158. This is the song that is part of Shabbat, the song of the sea itself. All these words are found in there. These are the ones we'll be singing.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Mi chamoch ba'elim Adonai, mi chamoch neda b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
We are to continue on page 162. Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We're going to stay on page 162, and we're going to try this. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, קורא עונג שבת. מקדשי, מקדשי שביעי שבת, כולם יספעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, קורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו, רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת השבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, קורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה, למעשה וראשית שבת, כולם יספעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, קורא עונג שבת. We continue by standing for the tefillah, which we will start on page 164. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, page 166. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. And we are going to skip. We are going to go to page 172. You may be seated. 172. You may be seated. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu. I hope you're looking at the English while we're doing this Hebrew. Ritzei v'menuchatenu kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkenu b'toratecha sab'enu mituvecha ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון, שבת קודשך, וינוחו בה ישראל, מקדש שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Page 174. ריצי, ריצי, ריצי אדוני אלוהינו, בעמך ישראל. ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד, ותהי לרצון תמיד, עבודת ישראל עמך. I think we're supposed to be doing it for him. Baruch atah Adonai, the bottom of the page. She'otecha levadecha, top of the next page. Be'yirah na'avod, I don't know this book yet. She'otecha levadecha, be'yirah na'avod. That's the page we should have said, the top of that page. Next time we'll remember. Please turn to page 178 and let Adam do something. He knows what page we're doing. Page 178. Adam, you do this one.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Lo Olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Lo Olam. Ki ata hu melech adon l'kol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon l'kol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim lo olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim lo olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim lo olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim L'Olam Tasim L'Olam Tasim L'Olam.
We don't always think about this, but in music, the quiet spaces between the notes are at least as important as the notes themselves. And in our lives, the quiet spaces that we have in our weeks and our days is at least as important as the times when we are singing. We take a moment for some silent prayer, some Shabbat rest. Page 180. Yehu leratson.
May the words of my mouth
Imre fi vehegyon libi.
and the meditations of my heart
Lefanecha.
be acceptable to you.
Lefanecha.
Be acceptable to you.
Adonai Tzuri.
God, my rock,
Tzuri v'gohali.
my rock and my redeemer.
Adonai Tzuri.
God, my rock
V'gohali.
and redeemer.
At this time in our service, our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating. If you would like to call out names of people for whom you'd like us to be saying prayers, I invite you to call them out. We turn to page 371. In the middle of the page. Sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the one make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We add Mishaberach Avotenu V'imotenu, may the one who blessed and protected our ancestors guard all those whom we have entrusted with the responsibility of defending our freedom, protecting us or healing us in this country, in the land of Israel, and everywhere they've been called to serve. Give them courage to succeed and strength to persevere. May they return home safely, and let us say, Amen. So, back by popular demand, my sermon. Puff, the magic dragon. No, we're not doing that one. Puff, the kosher dragon. Let's do that one. Lived in Yisrael and frolicked in the synagogue and drank the wine Carmel. You know that one? Little Rabbi Jana loved that kosher puff and fed him lox and matzah balls and other kosher stuff. Now Puff became bar mitzvah, put on tefillin every day, wrapped up in his talit. Oh, that's the way he'd pray. He made brachot before eating. He benched after every meal. Imagine how religious it made that dragon feel. You could sing it with me. Puff, the kosher dragon, lived in Israel. Lived in Israel and frolicked in the synagogue. Frolicked in the synagogue. Drank the wine Carmel. Drank the wine Carmel. Little Rabbi Jana. Little Rabbi Jana. Loved that kosher puff. Loved that kosher puff. Fed him lox and matzah balls. Fed him lox and matzah balls. And other kosher stuff. Other kosher stuff. Now you who may be listening may think I'm making fun, but deep down in this story there's a moral for everyone. If a dragon can wear a kippah, keep Shabbat and kosher too, then we can learn like Puff did how to be a real good Jew. Oh, Puff, the kosher dragon, lived in Israel and frolicked in the synagogue and drank the wine Carmel. Oh, little Rabbi Jana loved that kosher puff and fed him lox and matzah balls and other kosher stuff. All right, now we get to sing our announcements, I guess. You want to do that, or you want me to? Yeah. He said no, he doesn't want to sing his announcements. Shabbat Shalom. There will not be religious school this Sunday, but there will be Tu B'Shvat family programming Monday, weather permitting. 10 a.m. at Bnei Zion, 3 p.m. at Agudath Achim. Play with our trees. It's the tree's birthday. I will be having a Zoom on Shabbat tonight, starting about half an hour after we finish this service. Should begin by 7:30 at the latest. Tomorrow morning, starting at 9:45 a.m., I will be leading a Torah story study that talks about the Song of the Sea and other things. At 11 o'clock, we'll have a Shabbat morning service. It's kind of laid back. It's all on Zoom. The slides will show you what to say. It's all on screen. The Zoom meeting ID is 318-861-2122. The passcode is 18. That's high for you. The B'nai Zion office, you may not have known this, is going to be closed on Monday because it's a federal holiday. We forgot to tell you that in our last email, but it's there. If you didn't sign up for my classes, I'm sorry for you. You missed something awesome. I have 5 classes that started this week. 2 beginning Hebrew classes. We did wonderful things with vowel aerobics. You'll know what I'm talking about if you ever took my Hebrew class. And we started an Understanding Judaism class where we talked about the calendar. And we started our brand new exciting class about Jewish languages. You may want to watch what's going on each week and maybe at least pop in on one. Next week, please watch for details because when I left for services today, we hadn't made up our mind yet what's happening to our scholar in residence. The Jewish Federation is trying very hard to give us a scholar in residence, but it's a terrible timing, so we may postpone it. Donations were made to B'nai Zion Sisterhood Flower Fund in honor of Babi Sheila's birthday by me and her family, but also in loving memory of Lee Edward Dreyfus by Donna and Randy Gringus, in loving memory of Kenneth Gompertz by Claire Maisel and Debbie Kamenker and family, in loving memory of Herbert Joyner by Ellen Ray Joyner, in loving memory of Elsa Kent by Sidney Kent and family. Shabbat Shalom. We continue our service back to our books. On page 586, the bottom. 586, the bottom. And remember, we're still using the bracketed numbers here, 586. When you get to that page, the bottom. And we're going to continue on the bottom of the facing page. Please rise when the ark is open.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And you have to give us a second to turn to page 591, 591, so that we could say ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו is closed, you may be seated. We continue on page 595. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete. When those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and our words. And what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life, now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. We continue on page 599. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We remember Carl Aaron. We think of those who have the congregants' parents who died within the past year. We think of Henry Brenner, Ron Riley, and Fred Phillips. And those who died at this season in years past. We think of Lucille Bodenheimer, Marguerite Graith, Louise Braun, Lee Edward Dreyfus, Lou P. Ellison, Albert Elmer, Martin Feldman, Zelda Finkelstein, Joseph Slaughter Frankel, Kenneth Gompertz, Hubert L. Joyner, Lewis Carroll Jr., Henry Sauer Katzenstein, Elsa K. Kent, Fanny Klumak, David Levy, Erwin Muslow, Robert David Pessis, Robert E. Redstone Sr., Deborah W. Richardson, Margaret Golden Rifkin, Everett Rubenstein, Morris Schuster, Jane Blumenthal Steiner, E. Bernard Weiss, Alvin Willer, and Newman Zelinsky. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for blessing. The mourner's Kaddish is found on page 598. If it is your custom to do so, I invite you to please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe shalama Rabbah min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to the world. And we say, Amen. Please be seated. I think we're going to turn to page 625 and do one of the most beloved closing songs that's out there. A little bit of it at least. I don't know how often you get to look at how beautiful the poetry is of what the words mean, so I hope you get a chance to do that. But we've got a couple versions for you today.
Oop,
Whoa.
kidding. Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
Vaterem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, V'chefzo Kol, Atzai Melech Shemo Mikra Adon Olam, V'acharech Yichlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora Adon Olam, Vehu Haya, Vehu Hove, Vehu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, Beterem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, V'chefzo Kol, Atzai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam.
And then there's this one. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, V'terem Kol, Yitzir nivra lahet nasa v'chefso kol azay melech Shemo nikra v'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra lehet nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra lehet nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh b'tifara v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra lahet nasa v'chefso kol azay melech Shemo nikra. And one more song. Because it is a celebration, we get to celebrate together, we get to sing again. We do this once a year. And because we get to celebrate the birthday for the trees, I told you I was going to mention it 2 times. You can turn to page 572, but you may not need it. How glad are we to be together? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Be safe. Please rise for the closing benediction, which I probably should sing one of these days, but for today we're just going to say it. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you. May God protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'choneka. May the light of God's face shine upon you like wonderful music notes and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face be lifted up to you. May God grant you peace. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.